The movie that I chose to do for this assignment that portrays issues of race, class, and gender was The Help, directed by Tate Taylor. This movie takes place in Jacksonville, Mississippi during the 1960s around the Civil Rights Act movement from what it shows in the movie. And it consists of four main characters, which is Abilene, Minnie, Skater, and Haley. Abilene and Minnie are both African American women who work as maids, and Skater and Haley are friends. Minnie and Abilene are like tight. They're like best friends. And Skater and Haley used to be, but like lately Skater, after returning back from college, you can say she's more of an open-minded woman, and who's willing to understand and is not ignorant as Haley. Haley is more of, I guess you can say, racist towards the maids, the African American maids, including Abilene and Minnie. Minnie is actually at first starts off as her maid, as Haley's maid, and she's more portrayed as a racist person. But it starts off with Abilene narrating the movie first, and she's basically the narrator throughout the movie, parts of the movie. And she's basically first fixing the house for Haley's social gathering from her organization. And before Skater goes to the gathering, she's one of the last ones to arrive. She was basically trying to get a job at the Jackson Journal, and she got the job for the Jackson Journal. She seems very like an independent woman who's educated and is very determined. From what it portrays in the movie, she's basically one of the few that is single. I believe she's 23 or 24. And all her friends, including Haley, basically judge her because she at that age is supposed to be married and have children and have her own maid like they do. But she's not. She's different. She went to college and tried to seek education and came back and got a job. So when she arrives to the house for the social gathering of organization of Haley, she lets them know how, that she got a job at the Jacksonville Journal, and she's super excited. And Haley looks at her like very hypocritical, saying like, who wouldn't hire you? Look at you, you've come so far. But she kind of feels like something's off. So as they're talking, Haley states that she drafted, and in the movie that it states, she has stated, and in the movie that I have drafted the Home Health Sanitation Initiative for a bill what requires every white home to have separate bathroom for the help. And the reason she does that is that she believes that the African Americans can spread a disease, and it's just trying to look out for their children. When hearing that from Haley, Skater just looks at her like, why would you say such a thing? Like, they should build you a separate bathroom. And which Haley's like, you should not be playing with these type of stuff. This is a serious, these are serious times. And she's basically just stating, like, to not mess around with it, right? And then Skater then apologizes to Abilene because Abilene was right there in front of them when Haley commented over it to their friend, the friend group. And she then Skater talks to Abilene, Skater wants to interview Abilene, in which Abilene feels scared and basically says that it's a crime. And at first, she's not cooperating. She does not want to cooperate with the whole issue, especially hiding it from everybody, keeping it as a secret. So then what made her change her mind was a sermon that she had gone that day to church. So basically God. And which brought her courage and strength to come out to look for Skater. She called Skater and basically said that yes, that she'll be okay and when doing the interview, just to change the names, make it anonymous, because she doesn't want to risk everything and just wants the best, just basically wants to be careful. Skater interviews her, asks a few questions, really deep personal questions, to the point where she comes out and she has like a journal, a prayer journal, but within her prayer journal, she writes what happens and like her thoughts, like a diary in a way. And basically, Abilene states in the movie, it was 1925 and I had just turned 14. I dropped out of school to help Mama with the bill. I loved that baby and he loved me. And that's where she realizes that she makes children proud and she loves what she does. And she basically told her that she will write her stories down to her and give it to Skater, in which then Minnie gets fired by Haley. Haley fires Minnie because Minnie uses the bathroom. It was an emergency and there was like, I guess, a tornado. It was a stormy afternoon, stormy day, and which the bathroom from Haley for Minnie was right across the pool outside. And the umbrellas, you can see umbrellas flying everywhere. It was really bad. It was really heavy rain. It was super windy, and Minnie decided to go use the bathroom. She really, from the movie, she really doesn't use it. She just, as Haley catches her, I guess to annoy her, to get her back, Minnie to Haley, flushes down the toilet purposely flushes down the toilet and lets the toilet seat slam down, in which Haley actually fires her then there on the spot and basically kicks her out of the house. Within the storm, she doesn't care or anything, she just lets her leave. And then Minnie at first isn't okay, but what made her change her mind is that Haley did, in a way, I guess you can say, spread the word about Minnie, in which causes her a hard time to find a job. So leading to that, she gets beaten up by her husband, and that takes courage for her to go up to Skater and actually tell her stories too. And one of Minnie's stories, she actually ends up confessing what she did to Miss Haley when she goes and gives the pie to apologize to her. And then let's just say that pie is not actually a pie, and it was her wastes within that pie. And in which she literally says to tell Skater to write that down, and which she does. She was very shocked, both Abilene and her, but it is part of her why Haley fired her and how she felt and what led her to do that. And then later on, they get more maids to confess and give out their stories that they're willing to help and cooperate. in which then therefore the book comes out. And the main reason why it caught the attention was because from Skater's perspective, she literally states, these women raised white children. We love them and they love us, but they can't even use the toilets in our houses. So that was the whole motivation of her writing the book and interviewing the maids, or how they're stated to help. And then from there, the book gets published, and many of them from Jacksonville are reading it and are trying. They're like, why would they do these horrible things? Like, who does that? And the story was there from Minnie about Haley's and Minnie's incident about the pie. So she's now, I guess, humiliated. And she figures out and confronts Skater and saying, how could you? And like, she's trying to find a lawyer and that she will get on her. And she was like, be careful, because I still have these women coming up and telling me stories more. So you better watch out. And that kind of was like, she was like frustrated. And later on, it leads to for Abilene and Minnie to be praised at church, because it takes guts for something like that to come out and out in the light. And they're just really happy and proud that Abilene took the initiative to actually go out and tell her story. Which then it leads to Haley trying to get her fired, in which that part was like really sad, especially for the child, since basically Abilene raised the child. And it's not fair that Haley would accuse her for that, but it had led up to actually, that was one of her last children that she actually ended up raising. And from there, you can see her, that's how the movie finishes off. You can see her walking out in the street, like going her own way. Now, how this all relates to the book. It deals with racism, it deals with the class, and it deals with the gender. And according to page 56, it states that racism is a system of power and privilege. It can be manifested in people's attitudes, but is rooted in society's structure. Racism is reflected in a different group advantages and disadvantages based on their location in this societal system. And within them, and within that society from Haley, her organization, she basically like makes them and gives them ideas like, oh, like for example, like the disease that African Americans will usually like give out a disease, and they're just trying to keep their children safe. Like, no, that's not the case. Like, it's just an excuse for her to actually cover up her racism, hypocritical racism, I guess you can say. And basically, she creates that racism within her society, her group society, and which is discriminating them. Like, they're actually helping raising your children, and the way that they're being treated is not right. It's not fair at all. The class is on page 60. Class is a major force in American society. Class shapes the life chances of Americans, even though there is a strong cultural belief that class mobility is possible. Within them, Haley creates and like divides the whole class system between them, as well as the maids, feeling them, making them low, like they're nothing, like they're just, oh, we're just paying you like a few cents more. And in one of them, Haley's new maid, her children are her children actually are graduating, I guess, high school, and they're going to college, but she's asking them for, I guess you can say, a loan. And she's like, no, that's why you're working hard. That's why you're here. If not, you will be paying a debt if you're working for free. And which led her maid into tears. And it's something really sad. Like she doesn't have a heart in saying it out there, like hurting the people's feeling like it's not their fault. It's not their fault that they are their skin color. Like, just know, who are they to be judging out like that? But especially Haley, she feels like she's the top of everybody, even and within her organization herself. Even if she's the president, she still feels like she's like above everybody else, when in reality isn't. And with the gender on page 69, gender, like race, is social construction, not a biological imperative. Gender is rooted in social institutions and results in patterns within society that structure the relationships between women and men, and that give them differing positions of advantage and disadvantage within institutions. And this you can see within Skater. So I like how I mentioned earlier before, she seems like a very independent, educated woman, and who's being judged by her friends about, they marriage, and like, why is she still single? She should be having kids by now, and with her own personal maid. Her mother, she feels pressured by her mother and friends to getting a date, and when she does, but honestly, like, she's just basically doing herself, and she's not getting respected on what she's doing herself as a woman, because women at that time were basically belonging at home. Their only job was supposed to just be housewives around that time. And I mean, yes, around that time there were the women rights, and she was, I guess, one of the few that actually went out to college and study, instead of trying to find a date and trying to get married and trying to be at the house, being a housewife. No, that wasn't her. And in one of the cases, it led to her mom think that she was not attracted to men, that she was possibly attracted to women, in which she said there was a tea remedy for that, in which it led her to stomp down the stairs and just let her mom talk, like left her just talking, because that wasn't the case. And she basically does everything on her own, and is just trying to create, I guess you can say, a change within herself, because she had a really deep, you can say, a deep connection and a close bond with Constantine, her whole nanny, which got fired by her own mother. And her own nanny, Constantine, basically gave her words of wisdom when she was younger, and one of her flashbacks, that she'll become something great, that she knows that. And she did. She created the book with the help of the maids of Abilene and Jackson, and it came out to her getting a job opportunity over there in New York. In conclusion, this movie does a very well job pointing out the issues of race, class, and gender throughout the film, and is a very great movie. It's very emotional, and basically recommend it to anybody who's willing to be open to the race, class, and gender education, wants to learn more about race, gender, and education. It's a really great movie, and I really liked it out of all the movies, the trailers that I've watched. Thank you, and I hope you have a good one.